Just imagine how refreshing it would be to go on a vacation to your favorite destination and spend some quality time with your family. What's more interesting is such refreshing vacations can also help you save your taxes. Hello and welcome. Today let's talk about Leave Travel Concession LTC that you get from your employer. It is also known as LTA, that is Leave Travel Assistance. LTC or LTA, both are one and the same. If your vacation is well planned I mean from the income tax perspective, then you don't have to pay any tax on the LTC that you get from your employer because it's going to be completely exempt. So let's start the journey of planning your vacation. Leave Travel Concession, as the name suggests, is a concession or assistance given to you by your employer for you to travel anywhere in India when you are on leave. This can be done even after retirement or after termination of your service. Key things to note here are: 1. Foreign travel is not covered here. 2. It is a leave travel concession. So if you go on vacation on holidays, such things are not included here. 3. This is not just for you. You can even take your family members. Now the Income Tax Act also gives us the definition of the word family. Family here includes your spouse and your children, plus your dependent parents and dependent brothers or sisters. Maximum number of children here are 2 if your children are born on or after October 1998. But after first child, if you have twins or triplets, then all of them would be covered in the definition of family. This maximum limit of 2 is not applicable if your children are born before October 1998. Now the next question that would come to your mind would be, what if you have more than 2 children and all of them are born after October 1998? Will you not be able to avail this exemption? Not exactly. You can still avail this LTC exemption, but it would be limited to a maximum of 2 children. Let's now see how is this LTC exemption computed. This would depend upon the mode of travel. First, if you travel by plane, then LTC exemption is limited to the airfare in economy class. 2. If you travel by train, then it is limited to the train fare in first class AC. 3. If you travel by car or use other public transport like bus services, and if the place of origin and the place of destination are connected by train, then exemption would be limited to the train fare in first class AC. If these places are not connected by train, then exemption would be limited to the bus fare in first class. Now there are 2 important things to remember. First, if the LTC that you get from your employer is less than these fares, that is air, train or bus fare, then the exemption would be equal to the LTC that you actually get from your employer. 2. The journey should have been performed by the shortest route. To understand this better, let's consider a simple example. Let's say your itinerary includes travel from Bangalore to Ahmedabad, from Ahmedabad to Dehradun, and from Dehradun back to Bangalore. Now let's say the airfare from Bangalore to Ahmedabad is 7,460, from Ahmedabad to Dehradun 10,357, and from Dehradun back to Bangalore 16,057. So this is the total travel fare that you are required to pay. For your onward journey, that is from Bangalore to Ahmedabad and from Ahmedabad to Dehradun, the place of origin would be Bangalore, but the place of destination would be Dehradun because that is the farthest place. Let's say the airfare from Bangalore to Dehradun is 14,364. So the LTC exemption is limited to this 14,364 for your onward journey. Plus for return journey, that is from Dehradun back to Bangalore, let's say it is 16,057. So your total LTC exemption would be 30,421 per person. If you are a family of 4, then this exemption can go up to about 1.21 lakh. Before we move to the next topic, there are two aspects to understand. First, this maximum LTC exemption would be limited to the amount that you actually spend. Let's say you go on a vacation and you drive your car. Now, if your car is an internal combustion engine vehicle, then you would be paying for the fuel. And if it is an electric vehicle, then you will have to pay for charging your vehicle. Now, whatever money that you spend for either on your fuel bill or at charging stations, if this spending is less than this train or bus fare, the chances of which are very less, but this is how the provision is, then in that case, the exemption would be equal to the amount that you actually spend. As far as this maximum exemption concept is concerned, let me quickly summarize. If the LTC that you get from your employer is less than these fares, that is air, train or bus fare as applicable, then the exemption would be equal to the LTC that you actually get from your employer, even though your spending is more than that. But if the amount that you spend is less than these fares, then your exemption would be equal to the amount that you actually spend. So this maximum exemption would be least of three components. First, LTC that you get from your employer. Two, amount that you actually spend. Three, these fares, that is air, train or bus fare as applicable. Whichever is least among these three would be your maximum LTC exemption. Now the second aspect is this LTC exemption is limited only to the travel fare that you incur. To put it differently, if you spend on other expenses incidental to your vacation, say on boarding, lodging, on car hire charges or any other expenses incidental to your vacation, then such expenses will not be considered for the purpose of this LTC exemption. In other words, such expenses would be a cost to you. Let's now move to the next topic, that is how frequently can you avail this LTC exemption. In a block of 4 years, you can avail this exemption on two occasions. The current block, that is 2022 to 2025, which starts from 1st Jan 2022 and is going to end on 31st December 2025. In this block, you will be able to avail this LTC exemption twice. There is something called carryover concession, which is worth understanding. Let's say in the previous block, that is 2018 to 2021, you have not at all availed this LTC exemption, or let's say you had availed this exemption once out of the two occasions. If so, you have an option to carry this over to the current block, but this carryover is possible only for one occasion, and this exemption has to be availed in the first calendar year of the subsequent block. In addition to that, whatever exemption that is due in the current block can also be availed. Thus, in a particular block, you would be able to avail this LTC exemption on a maximum of 3 occasions. Now, how can you avail this exemption? There are two options. First, by submitting documents to your employer. This is the easiest. Supporting documents can be tickets, boarding pass, or if you have booked your travel through a travel agency, then the invoice from the travel agency can be a supporting document. Once you submit these supporting documents to your employer would consider this LTC exemption and compute your tax liability and accordingly issue Form 16. At the time of filing your income tax return, all you need to do is to pre-fill this data from Form 16 and file your income tax return. Now the second option. What if you have not submitted these documents to your employer? Say either you had forgotten or you couldn't find these documents at the time or whatever may be the reason. No worries, you can still avail this exemption at the time of filing your income tax return and get refund of excess taxes that you have paid. Just ensure that you preserve these supporting documents, because if the income tax department demands proof for the exemption that you have claimed, then you would be required to submit these supporting documents to them. This is all about the Leave Travel Concession. Hope the concept is clear to you. Just remember that this vacation is not just limited to your spouse and children, but you can also take your dependent parents and dependent siblings and still avail this LTC exemption. Also remember about the carryover concession. Just try and avail LTC exemption at least once in a block, because the other one can be carried forward to the next block. But if you not at all avail this exemption in a particular block, then only one can be carried over to the next block and the other is going to get lapsed. That's all I have for you today. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.